Hey guys, I'm going to be reading to you a portion of my first book that Gary already has started reading. Um, I'm going to pick up in book two, or the second part of my first book. This is when the main character first starts his ministry as one of the last two prophets, one of the last two lampstands from the book of Revelations. The character is in Austin, Texas. So yeah, let's see how this reads. I kind of just bibliomanced this, just picked a random portion to start reading, so let's see how it goes. I pulled my fresh pad out of my satchel and uncapped a bright red ink pen. I busily scratched down the childish thoughts that surrounded me. I was a medium, and my pen knew all. Their trivial drama held me captivated by its emotional gravity. It was so pathetic, but also alluring. Ignorance is bliss, after all, and I felt by writing down the thoughts that surrounded me, I too became simple, content, free. It was so taxing losing myself in a whole room of thought that I wondered if I might pass out, or fall so deep into my trance that I actually fell asleep. But my own light kept me awake, kept me safe from falling into their karmic cycles. I couldn't help but wonder when this event was going to happen, but I knew that something would, and I was here to record it all on paper. A slurry jazz beat hit the jukebox. Poetry, in a strange and perplexing form, oozed out of me. Poetic quarry, rock rubble, electric strobe, buried face deep in the sick. The inner earth heat, the hellish beat, the night, the thick of it not complete. Trip hop, pimp snot, bliss bot, scene rot, terrible treble trembles. Seizure, snip, snap, signals, fade, fade, static lost. Fade, fade, static lost. Captain, all frequencies are open. Jazz beat, Starfleet, can't eat dog meat. I serve jujitsu sweets. Gnostic beeper, Coptic sleeper. Trillions of vermilion, vrillion communications to my pineal gland. Coming up to my land, a famine, a sickness, Egyptian, plagues by my hand. Deep desert trigger in this blistering sand. Moses in the reeds. Let this widow's son be spared. Let the edges be squared. Sheep to the lion's roar. Let the whore of Babylon have what is hers. Give the whore back what is hers. Was this a communication? Streaming? Just a little bit of poetry, littering a broken page. A blonde girl, she couldn't have been more than 17, traversed the sea of people between us and helped herself to the bar stool beside me. I could sense her, read her. I just couldn't help it. The radio just dialed in somehow, and the static overtook the rest. I squinted my eyes hard, defragmenting my creeping headache with raw power. She sat down, her arms crossed on the tabletop. I suppose she would have been considered pretty to most of the guys in this venue, but I had little interest in such things anymore. I'm Horus. I died to give life. Hello. She tried to initiate conversation. My pen ignored her. My name is Lucy Lilith, but some people call me Luli. What's your name? It is said that by giving someone your name, you give them complete power over you. Why would I want to relinquish such power to a girl thing I don't even know? Sometimes it's fun to let go. Give yourself over unwillingly to someone new. Someone who could be entertaining, Lucy said. She had a way of smiling with her eyes, flirting with a subtle wink. She had power, but it was a power over body and mind. She had no power over me. I drew my energy from the world of the spirit. The power you have is nothing to me. The power I have is not mine to give, I said. The time will come when I will willingly give myself over to all. Until that time, I remain to myself. I never stopped writing while I was talking. Then I'll just call you a weird guy, she said in a hostile hiss. The specter attached to her was trying to break into me, find a chink in my armor. Call me Temp. I offered this to her as an olive branch, beginning of the conversation conversion process. What is temp short for? Temperature? Her voice was mocking. I could tell she was getting annoyed at my disinterest in her. She was obviously not used to having men ignore her. My temperature is scalding, yet you sit right next to me, and yours is tepid. Temperature has nothing to do with it, except for the fact that you are growing cold to me because I don't think you are hot. In this case, temp is for temporary, or Templeton, if you'd rather, a name given to a town surrounding a temple. Its only attraction, sadly. I'm here on this hill, a temple amongst hovels. Homes hold back souls of habit. The multitude dwell within these shacks and chateaus, but the temple, it holds the souls of the priests, the devoted, and the spirit of the divine itself. Okay, so your name is Templeton, she said. I was beginning to think that no amount of time I could spend on her could possibly make a difference. It would take a crowbar to force a new thought into Lucy. They had her. Phil Collins sang out in the stereo system. It was that song, In the Air Tonight, and surely they could feel it coming. I continued, Listen, my name could be Templeton, or Enoch, or Michael, or John, or Edgar, or Carl. A voice crying out in the wilderness saying, Make straight the way, for the lords of the air cometh. But tempt me not. I didn't look up at her. I could feel the wrinkle in her nose and across her brow as her interest turned into confusion and then into fear. The tension was thick. I'd been waiting for this moment my entire life. Are you some kind of Mormon or something? What the hell? You're weird, dude, really. You know that? She started to get up and push back her bar stool, but something stopped her. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw her head inching towards my own. I turned to meet her eyes, but she was staring at my notepad. My hand was streaming away, and I didn't even notice what I was writing. What the hell are you writing? She asked. My thoughts, my feelings, intuitions, communications, I said. You wrote down my last name on your notepad, Bernhardt. How do you know my last name? I never told you. You carry a tremendous amount of self-identifying information in your frontal lobe. You have a huge ego, no offense, but you've hardly achieved oneness and the dissolution of your former self. A lot of personal information comes through. I receive similar communications from most living entities, and you, my child, have a lot of growing up to do. Wait, what are you saying? Are you some kind of psychic or something? She retorted. We are all psychic to some degree, more so if you allow it. It takes a certain mindset to unlock, a mindset I can help you form. Bullshit, you're some kind of stalker, aren't you? You came up to me, remember, Lilu? Or Luli? I forget which. Prove it then, she taunted. A chuckle escaped me. You rather I didn't. Get behind me and tempt me not, Lucy, I warned her. A sneer managed to roll over my lips. I had a holy contempt for her. It is righteous to hate that which is evil. She represented this whore of Babylon who rules this age of man by seducing her citizenry with a life of excess and comfort, sexuality and pride. But there is an order in the chaos, and not all of the age of man has been disastrous. We have made great leaps forward scientifically in this age. In the age of matriarchy, the age of wisdom, women unleashed and lived in harmony with nature. I yearn for that time to come again. Venus to Mars, Mars to Earth, a balance between energies, both male and female, masculine and feminine. When I looked at Lucy, I saw Lucifer and my own mother. Probably just another whore rotting in a South Carolina jail cell. That's karma. That's the tragedy of it all. So it goes. Perhaps it was being too hard on that little Lucy. Maybe she could be saved, just maybe. What's all that supposed to mean? She asked, honestly curious, not at all sneering like I had been. Okay, you like to be called a slut when you're having sex. You used to keep a literal notch on your nightstand of all the conquests you had before you got lazy after the first 50 or so. You think you need this attention because your father left you and your mother when you were 4, but really, you just like having power over people. And you have discovered that sex can be powerful. One time, you thought that you were pregnant with a mixed-race child. You were so frightened your mother would disown you, but it just turned out to be a bad case of gas and a pretty scary herpes infection. You never told anybody that, by the way, not even the partners you had afterwards. You secretly wanted to go have sex with me too, but now you are concerned that it isn't right to go. But now you're concerned that that isn't going to happen because you are starting to realize I have no need for physical contact, only spiritual contact. You think I might even be an alien, and you just might be right. How the hell did you know all that? Are you psychic? You are psychic, and a dickhead too. And you're still weird, she screamed and slapped me hard across the face. She pushed back the bar stool hurriedly, disappearing into the ocean of teenage pheromones. A scene had gathered. They laughed as I rubbed my red and swollen cheek. A few people had apparently been listening to Lucy and I's conversation all along. Someone approached me. How did you know all that? About the girl, I mean. A skinny, dark-haired boy about my age asked me. He was wearing black fishnet stockings over his arms. Spare this man, Lord of Justice. If I tell you, will you hang up your nets and follow me? The spiral of time grows ever larger. What has happened before will happen again. My first disciple had returned to his teacher. He just kind of looked at me, cocked his head to the side like a confused dog. I knew that look well. Don't panic, I smiled. What's your name, kid? I asked. Peter James Rockfish. But you already knew that, didn't you, Mr. Psychic? He said jokingly. All of this has happened before, and all of it will happen again. Come with me, and I'll teach you the secrets of the kingdom of heaven, the spiral growth of the universe, and of the human experience, the sacred nautilus of the never-ending. Come with me, Rockfisher. I'm slightly creeped out right now, bud. Who are you supposed to be anyways? Go with you exactly where? He began to back away, flooding me with questions. Oh, what a vile and adulterous generation needs signs to have faith in the human spirit and the essence of the Creator. Your girlfriend Stacy is cheating on you. She's meeting another boy here tonight after you leave. He's right over there. He knows all about you, and he laughs at you behind your back. Stop crying in your closet, listening to sad songs on your stereo. Stop living in pixelated worlds painted across your computer screen. She isn't worth your tears. She isn't worth forgetting who you really are, just to find release from the hurt she causes you. You're also addicted to pain pills. You have 2 Vicodin in your front left pocket that you're saving until the intro band gets off stage. They numb you, but for a brief time you feel this useless euphoria. I can get you high on a drug that will never lose its potency. Please, help me flood this place with the Spirit. Forget your body, embrace your mind, follow your heart, protect that which is precious to it, and your life will be spared from the coming reaping. The pain can be overcome with living water that shall come to wipe us away tonight in its flood. Bathe in the liquid that I pour out, a fountain hydrating this town square. I was broken where he was not. No Roman soldier crushed my legs to ensure that I would die before the Sabbath. Still, a demon crippled me that Friday evening. My leg was shattered, just like Jacob on the mountain wrestling the angel, and one day it will be broken again at the hip. Just like Israel, I limp. Just as Christ who came before me, I suffered on a cross of lumber, the wooden rafters of my mother's shed, and hanged. I hung myself and the fates, and for 3 and 3 and 3 hours, in the void of matter and illusion, I watched them bury my 2 brightest lights, the 2 sparks in my life, under dark demonic dirt. I should have died, but the light brought me up into heaven, and now I'm returned to spread the word. I was born again, and now I am here. I am a servant, a messenger. Cleanse your mind and prepare your eternal soul, so you may see the dawn of the new age and avoid death, so that you might find life again. Some of you flourish in these heavy rains. Others will be washed away. Only the strong of mind and kind of heart will survive. A massive amount of information will be channeled through you all, decoding your neural networks and DNA, and reconfiguring your dense spatial bodies, seeking harmonization with the vibrational frequencies of bliss consciousness. The vibrational frequencies that make up the entire new age, the 5th age of man, the age of reason. I raised my voice. I could feel that some people wanted to hear what I was saying, but couldn't. Mr. Rockfish had a swarm of friends that surrounded me. I could mentally sense that they were intrigued by my words. Your old God is dead. Christ is come and gone. And I am here with others like me to take you into the new world with freshly awakened eyes. Wake yourself so that you may find light in the morning, a world without pain, where you may live like you should and not live to escape life in a society that taunts you with false hope. Live with love and without betraying your conscience. Please the powerful goodness and infinite love. Make those that have ears listen. Open them up. For those that are not yet ready to live within the divine plan will be tossed into the deep pit, so that they might supply nitrates to the new fruits of a revitalized garden of paradise. The pure of heart will be all that live to see the warmth of the Creator's barn and avoid the cold death of winter. Warmth in the fire of all creation. There were a number of people in the audience holding up their lighters like they were at a concert. The flames danced around like mischievous fairies on the tips of the congregation's fingers. And when you go into your closets to pray, pray like this: the Creator of all, who lives in all matter and all thought, the natural order that issued out of the cosmos. Your name is sacred, and its sound precious to the tongues and brains of mankind. Your new age, your new city, and the refinement through a new temple is coming soon, an everlasting age where we all live in your will, and we align ourselves with the very light of the stars. Give us this day your life and essence. Allow us the ability to forgive others and ourselves as the sons and daughters of the true Creator that went before us were forgiven of their darkness and made transcendent in your light. Let this new age never fall back into the historical spirals of old. Let go forever. Let go. Let's go ever forward to your holy purpose and follow your grand blueprint. Wings of Sanctuary will hold us safe as you watch over the evil within our own hearts. If the earth is your temple, then nature is your power, and we are your way. We are your hands. We are your glory, young though we are, defended for all times and ages until the end of the new beginning, ever and ever, till we are all fulfilled in your light, and heaven is home to us all. I finished my prayer. Peter, did your Uncle Carl leave his flock in the cold to freeze, or did he shepherd them lovingly into the comfort and safety of a barn you and your cousins built one summer especially for the flock of sheep? A shepherd doesn't forget his sheep. He protects them from the wolves that seek to survive the harsh winter on their innocent flesh. I say to you, Rock, so shall a legion of angels do for you as you have done for your uncle's flock. Even now, a barn that holds the flame of righteousness is being built for those that seek safety from the wolves that choose to devour the weak. The thoughts of those around me started to derail from their typical petty patterns and attune themselves to what I was saying. About 30 people were gathered around me listening. Some skeptics chuckled at me. Others thought it was some kind of theatrical show parodying religion in a humorous light and smiled ear to ear. However, all were quiet. I was glad for that. This species might find their proper place in the cosmic womb after all. Believe me now, Rock? I asked loudly. Yes, this guy's for real. He's a psychic or something. Listen to him, Peter shouted to the room. Or something, I added. Someone in the crowd chimed in. If you're a psychic, what's my grandmother's maiden name? Oxford Ensley, Jennifer, died at age 72 of lung cancer, smoker for 33 years. She burnt a hole in your stuffed bear's nose with a lit cigarette once, accidentally, of course. You never liked Mr. Snuggles much after that. You thought he looked trashy. You will die much younger than your Granny Gin-Gin unless you listen to what I have to say. The crowd turned to see the skeptic's response. His doubt had died. He threw up his arms in defeat and confirmation. The crowd was starting to believe, and you will never see death. Listen to me, all of you. I may be the last pure soul you ever come in contact with until this age is over and the next is in its twilight. The entire room went quiet. A few laughs were quickly stifled by all of the other curious onlookers, earnest in their attention. I peered over the crowd. Small flames were held high in their outstretched fists. I almost looked like It almost looked like a crowd full of statues of liberty. This is my anointment. This is my River Jordan. The fire made me pure. The fire in their hands ignited me. Since we are in a coffee shop, take up your coffee cups and whatever you have, water bottles, whatever it is, and drink. This is the first celebration of the grand wedding of the living Christ and his bride. The time for riddles and metaphors is almost over. I am planting seeds that will grow in this lifetime with the help from the water that I pour out into you, whether you like it or not. And you will live in God's garden as prized roses, or you will wither and fold in the hot sun. Sometimes an herb grows too fast and cannot take the heat of the summer, and it is reduced to a simple root structure left vacant in the cold soil to grow again at some later date. So come, drink, for it is time for my first work, my first miracle. Without hesitation, the crowd took sips from their paper espresso cups. Those that didn't have drinks of their own took a bit from their neighbor's glass. Others grabbed bottles of water out of the cooler from behind the counter to the barista's dismay, though even he was willing to let the loss of merchandise slide under such odd and entertaining circumstances. He, too, was entranced by my words. As they drank, I lifted my hands to the heavens. I prayed to the infinite that they might taste the living water, the fountain that would well up inside of the city of living angels and nourish those that dwell within. Water to soothe them and alleviate their thirst for truth. Water to bring them to the noble conclusion, the ultimate common sense. Water to flush out the dirt and remove the scales from their eyes so that they may clearly see what I was showing them. Father, relieve them their thirst. Open their minds so that what I tell them might be made plain. Do this to protect them, alert them, and prepare them for what is to come. Suddenly, shouting and cries of hysteria ran through the crowd. People yelled out that their water tasted like blood, and all at once the clear plastic bottles and paper cups were filled with a thick, viscous red liquid. At least they saw red, whereas I saw only a thick, black substance. A ceremony of fire and blood, of darkness and light. A few people close to me dropped to the ground and touched my bare feet, still blackened by the long walk across the hot asphalt parking lot. "He is glowing like an angel." Someone else said, "He has a halo above his head." Someone else piped in, "He has two magical fairies by his side, or angels or something." "Jesus and Moses are standing beside him. Look, listen to this man," someone shouted. All their voices flooded my brain. I couldn't distinguish between their thoughts and their actual cries anymore. Regardless, I needed silence so that I might hear the whisper of the wind and make the speech that was handed down to me to make. Quiet yourselves so that you might hear what I have to tell you. This is not a miracle, but a plague, just as Moses once brought to the Egyptians. I am not a savior. I have come to turn brother against brother and father against son. I have come to turn water to blood and not wine. The blood you have tasted is the blood of the saints that is spilled out in the great purification. Water to wine during the wedding feast, the first miracle of Christ. Wine to blood while eating his last meal. Blood to water when he was opened up on the cross with the spear of destiny. Water to blood and my new covenant with you and to all mankind. You drink the blood of the prophets themselves. You taste the living water of enlightenment, water that will one day fill the valley of Armageddon up to the horse's bridle. You hydrate your body with water You hydrate your soul with this fresh wine, bursting out of ancient wineskins. Don't let this feeling overtake you, for the blood flowing in all of your veins now contains the essence of the grand architect and all of his love. It is a lot to take in, I know, but relax and submit. Make your mind still so that you can use this gift to better understand. The room was in a trance. I could hardly believe that this was finally happening. My mind was lost. Something higher was speaking through me now, using my very mouth. The Lord of a mighty nation, ruling all in his kingdom justly, decided to take a bride from his neighboring nation and bring the world together under his rule. The wedding would bind us all together in happiness because this king was a great man, meant for the scepter and for the crown. But, alas, the Lord couldn't stay to make his own wedding plans. He must leave his kingdom to make sure that his bride had a proper location set out for her in her grand castle, a new jewel of a city. So the king left his planning to his royal subject, one of the brightest stars amongst a dim court, a jealous man named Sir Pent. The king left specific instructions that every subject be invited to his bridal shower. However, Sir Pent was a weak man. Soon after the king had left his throne, allowing for those subjects to govern themselves according to the law, Sir Pent made a few changes to the guidelines that he was given. He decided to act as a steward of the kingdom while his master was away. He invited only people that he thought would be politically advantageous to his own future to the master's wedding, planning to steal the bride for himself in a military coup. Those that were loyal to the king were promptly killed in the dead of night because they followed the ideals that the king had governed under: love, understanding, and faith. The time for the king's wedding had come at last, December the 21st, 2012. When the king had finally returned from ensuring that his bride had solid ground on which to build up her new United Kingdom and its shining capital, he realized that his most trusted aide was seeking to steal not only his crown but the entire world away from him by kidnapping his beloved and marrying her himself. Sir Pent thought that he could just kill the king, but no one can kill an idea. The king rose up against Sir Pent and took back what was his. A mighty battle was fought, and Sir Pent was defeated and chained up in the deepest dungeon of the kingdom. He was to be released when not a single ear would be able to listen to the words of the evil that he speaks. His vicious whispers and forked-tongued manipulations would fall on deaf ears, for in that time the world will speak a different language, one that Sir Pent could not utter, nor could he interpret. When the villain was conquered, and those that followed him put to the flame by the king's men, knights in white armor, the day for his wedding was finally approaching. The king invited all of his remaining subjects to the grand event. They had been held safe from the flames under the wings of two great eagles. The remaining guests were the sleeping souls, the dead but restless martyrs that had endured to see this day. Old souls, new souls, and even the animals gathered for the wedding feast. The children of the fallen, whose parents had given their lives for the king while he was away, were sat at a special dining table close to the royal family because they were the physical embodiment of their spiritual elders. These are the spirits that will incarnate in the age of Aquarius to populate the new world. In this metaphor, the king is the Christ consciousness within us all. And serpent is the evil that dwells within our hearts. The evil that seeks to rule the world, but really it aids us in the grand purification that has been prophesied. A cleansing fire. The bride is the city of the new age, the embodiment of our shared but hidden philosophy that will unite the whole world together as one. The wedding is the merger of beliefs that will occur in the near future. Our once universal love of the Spirit and all life that dwells within nature has fled so that we might find our way amidst the sea of experience, mistakes and sins, all by ourselves. We are Job. We are the wheat and the shaft. We are the crop and the tares. We are the light and the darkness. God, and the way that you perceived him, is false. We are God. We are the devil. We are the only way either of them can influence this plane for the betterment or for the destruction of the grand creation. We are his fingertips, his eyes, his ears, and his understanding. The universe created itself out of an ocean of incorporeal substance, so that it might come to find the truth by its own evolution of mind through a process of physical development. These physical developments are only to facilitate growth of the dense neural networks that act as a computer interpreting creation and deciphering the spirit, in essence, calculating the divine truth through our brain, the ultimate container. Once the brain has grown to a level of complexity where it can begin to question itself, that's when the real show starts. And the true face of the Lord is finally seen. A thought, a single unified thought created the bang that brought about all. A thought created a body in which it could think and come to conceptualize individual truth. The universe sought to understand itself consciously, and so made manifest a single atom, a proto-atom, an Adam, a man. We are that process of thought made solid, a single unified thought shared by all life in the universe, past, present, and future, to exist and to learn. And now we are once again merging with that thought, connecting with that truth, and aligning ourselves to the light to the fifth dawn. Eventually, a thought will allow us to shed our human bodies and return to the sea of truth from which we emerged. Just like a star, which cannot commit to fusion unless sufficient mass is achieved in the form of hydrogen or other noble gases, so also we cannot fulfill our spiritual fusion and ignite our noble light bodies unless we achieve a necessary density, a critical boiling over point of experience. These experiences add to our spiritual density and allow us to become a light for the world, just like the stars that bring simpler life into creation. Light never dies. All light is a symbol for the love of the Creator. We are still learning, but that's okay. We are all still growing and gathering information that will allow us to make a shift into a higher state of being. But we are all part of a bigger, infinite, learning God. We should make the lives we live on earth a brilliant portrait of humanity and put on a beautiful show for the rest of the galaxy. Instead, we have left behind our better selves and made this earth an example of how evil and greedy humans can be. Our cities are like the city serpent took for himself, perverted, and then destroyed with the filth that he brought wantonly upon all creation. The bride of the Christ is the holy city that will be lowered down out of heaven and brought out of the earth mother, like a jeweled shell for the righteous to find shelter and safety from the storm. In this city you will grow the promised fruit. In this city fountains of living water will flow as you will not have tasted before and will never taste again. For the first time this night, in its rawest form, you drink the living water. You drink the Spirit which I have poured out to you, the blood of the believed. A voice rang out from the crowd. So that's what you want me to drink? Some kind of Jim Jones Kool-Aid? Well, I'm not drinking that. You're full of shit, buddy, you know that? The only doubting Thomas among the over 150 people in the tiny coffee shop shouted out. The multitudes booed this man and snatched him up by his clothes and threw him out of the building by the literal seat of his pants. A few punches were even thrown. Already my followers showed signs of zealousness. I raised a single hand to quell the anger that was directed at this man. The crowd's thoughts were erratic, focusing all of the contempt they had pent up inside of themselves for this society on this single man. Quiet yourselves. His time will come. Needless to say, you saw the black figure that hung close to that man, the doubter. The living water has lifted the lid from your third eye. You can now see the forces of light and darkness that seek to aid and hinder your physical, mental, and spiritual transition into a more harmonic and balanced earth. These black shadow beings I call specters, hungry ghosts that leech off of your oral discharges to increase their own ethereal densities. These specters feed off of your conditioned negative reactions and the correlating bioelectric emissions created as a byproduct of your negatively charged aura. Before a specter is a specter, he is a human with a brain wired for intolerance, anger, selfishness, suffering, fear, hate, greed, apathy, paranoia, and countless other sinfulness. Before that, the human is only a person with a single, simple, negative response. Perhaps an irrational point of view, a thought that pops up from time to time and eventually sculpts a mentality centered on negativity. Other specters are then drawn to this human, and the metamorphosis begins, slowly at first. But then, upon death of the human, the remaining oral charge of that person becomes a new specter, and thus falls into the hell of apathy. The new specter exists in a never-ending purgatory, an infinite pandemonium, only knowing the hive mind of darkness that these specters are tapped into, and never once considering the possibility of their own redemption, never once even recognizing the beauty that they have been given, never able to be happy again, only finding contentment in their suffering. Satan, our enemy, our adversary, is like these specters that were attached all over the earth organism. The combined hive mind of all evil. This is Satan, the worst of humanity. A hive mind that connects all these evil ghosts together the living and the dead, spiritual wickedness in high places. There are those among us, humans, who work with these specters. They are their slaves, their faithful servants. 12 men dressed in all black who serve our enemy and inspire hatred and terror throughout the modern world. These 12 men aim to lock us in a downward spiral of negativity, a specter feeding frenzy, a new world where suffering and fear is uniform, and peace is but a legend, and love only a myth. They call themselves the Majestic 12, and they are the puppet masters pulling the strings of our world, both east and west. They send forth the ghosts which feast on your souls. If you feel bad, they send their specters in, slithering after you. These faithless fiends feed off of your foul frame of mind and work to increase the misery in your life by affecting how you see the world around you. They take the feelings right out of you. They literally ingest them and make them part of their own consciousness. This saps away energy that you could be compiling to further your own density, to turn on your own fusion and become a creature of purity, the opposite of these beings. Specters block your brain from connecting to your light, ethereal body, and keep you from receiving the critical information stored within it, the holy logos of creation. Your clear light, your spiritual body, your very aura can become disconnected from you by one or even several of these specters, and they will just keep growing and growing and growing with the power that they steal from you. Like parasites, they will bring you to your grave if allowed. This facilitates their feeding process and keeps them stuck to you like glue. Like a tick passing along an illness, soon you too become a hungry ghost, searching for the apathy and ill feelings you have grown so accustomed to during your mortal life. They alter your charge to match their own, stealing your individual color of your aura and blocking you from the white light of the infinite. Eventually, maybe even over several lifetimes of soul-deteriorating attachment, they can stop the process of reincarnation altogether. Sometimes it takes only one lifetime before you are cut off from the cycle and the game ends. Misery loves company, and misery is named Legion, for it is many. You will die of misery, and your aura will remain as only a shadow of its former self, an empty black husk flitting from place to place in packets of chill fog. This is the only hell ever known to the human soul, to wander earth, but to feel imprisoned inside of it, to indulge in sadness to the point that we stop growing, become numb to new stimuli, to be attracted to that dark energy and connect to it, live off of it, become it. There is no such thing as new experience to a specter. They see all new things through the same black lens. They are completely disconnected from the good part of life. They lose their attachment to the divine within the combined human subconscious. Specters only seek to feed, consume more negativity, and create new sources of sustenance by blocking you from your perfected self, your higher self. But if you have faith and live a good life, you will continue to reincarnate and avoid these specters, just as Christ banished the demons from the sick and possessed with his divine love and peace. Soon, too soon, two brothers will fall in the city of New York, just as a tower card and the tarot deck foretells doom, so does the toppling of the twins foretell the Third World War, the last great war of humankind. From now until the end of this age, you will be able to see those beings because you have tasted from the living water. And now you can see into the world of the spirit and distinguish all non-dense beings that live therein, even if they are attached to you. But your many specters cannot face me, and have fled from all of you, under the onslaught of the light-bringing truth that I pour out for you now in these dark glasses. Everyone in this room is now clean. Your auras are now fruitful and shielded under the wings of a great two-headed eagle. If you believe and have faith, not in me but in yourselves, you will all remain free from their parasitic nature. You saw the specter attached to the doubter because he did not partake in the living water. He couldn't be saved. He is already a specter. He just hasn't yet died. This is very simple to the Majestic 12, but their auras are older, larger, and darker than that of the young boys, and just like the doubter, the 12 will wither in daylight, because nothing that thrives in darkness can stand up to the light of day. When you threw him out, you believed you were doing good work for me, but you should have left him in his place. I could have drowned this parasite from his body and burned it from his soul. He could have been liberated. The neural chain reaction of pain that the specter was clinging to could have been broken. He might have known salvation, but you moved him from this place to rid this new temple of that rot and sickness that the parasite that is attached to his soul stands for. But it's okay. You recognize now this gathering place as a holy church that should not be violated with the presence of a hungry ghost such as that. It is logical to cast a leper out of town to stop the spread of disease. It is righteous, I say to you, it is righteous to hate that which is evil. What you have done tonight for this tiny coffee shop, the eagles in heaven and the angels of the air will do for this planet. I must also tell you that the beings you see beside me are also real, though insubstantial. Some see Jesus. A few of you see the Buddha or a kindly deceased grandparent. Some see two fairies. Some see two elves. It is all relative. You are seeing beings that I call the light elves. They are here now on this earth to help those that seek to build the new kingdom, and they have passed through the 7 gates of old and left their rungs on the holy ladder of 7 colors. They build with your very thoughts the kingdom of heaven on the surface of the earth, the last metropolis, Ivriel, which means life with God. This is our new Israel, a new Garden of Eden, where anything that humanity and earth organisms need for their combined survival is provided for. A center of consciousness, a brain for this chunk of heavy elements we call home. I guess I'm going to stop there. Hopefully you guys liked it. I would like to continue reading this, actually. It's kind of fun. And I totally didn't remember a lot of this stuff, so it was really interesting to go back and read it. I'm going to read this next little part. They build within us hearts that hold love and true law. They pump the symbolic white blood cells of healing into the various parts of the earth organism, fighting off the cancer of a prideful age of humanity. Light elves are not corporeal, but they are alive, as I am. They are the ancient elders from a long-forgotten way of life, and new sages made pure by countless lifetimes. Light elves are the untainted spirits that Native American wise men once prayed to, that Tibetan monks once gave homage to, Indian yogis, ancient Gnostic Christians, scribes and priests of the ancient Babylon, all who achieve life in another form, both on earth and as migrating beings that existed in the sea of divine energy from which we all sprang and will all return simultaneously. Well, that's it. I'm getting a little bit too hot with the air conditioner turned off, so I appreciate you guys listening. Hope you enjoyed. Blah, 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 blah. Yeah, have a good night. Day, whatever.